Greetings, listeners. We gather once more to confront the shadowed landscape of ethical dilemmas in leadership. It is not enough to merely acknowledge the existence of these challenges. We must equip ourselves with the tools, the strategies, the intellectual armamentarium necessary to navigate them. For the burden of ethical decision-making is not merely a theoretical construct. It is a practical reality, a daily crucible wherein the character of a leader is forged. Now, what, precisely, is an ethical dilemma? It is not merely a matter of choosing between good and evil, for such choices are often stark and unambiguous. No, an ethical dilemma presents itself as a conflict between competing goods, between competing principles, between competing values. Consider, for example, the work of Rushworth Kidder, who in his seminal work, How Good People Make Tough Choices, elucidates the nature of these right versus right dilemmas. A leader might be faced with the choice between loyalty to a team member and the obligation to uphold organizational integrity, or perhaps a decision between short-term profitability and long-term sustainability. These are not trivial matters. These are not simple calculations. The challenge, you see, lies in the fact that both sides of the equation possess legitimate claims. Both sides represent values that, in and of themselves, are worthy of pursuit. To navigate this labyrinth, to discern the path forward, one must first possess a clear and precise understanding of the problem at hand. Ambiguity, vagueness, these are the enemies of ethical clarity. One must define the parameters of the dilemma, articulate the competing values, and confront the inherent tensions with unflinching honesty. The psychological burden, the weight of these choices, it is significant. It is a weight that leaders must bear, a weight that tests the very metal of their character. Jonathan Haidt, in The Righteous Mind, illuminates the intricate workings of our moral psychology. We are not merely rational actors. We are creatures of emotion, of intuition, of deeply ingrained biases. We are susceptible to the siren song of self-deception, to the comforting illusions that shield us from the harsh realities of our own shortcomings. And so, how do we navigate this treacherous terrain? How do we make sound ethical decisions in the face of competing values and conflicting pressures? First, and this cannot be overstated, you must define the problem with ruthless precision. Do not allow vagueness to cloud your judgment. Break down the dilemma into its constituent parts. What are the competing values? What are the potential consequences of each course of action? To fail to do this is to navigate a minefield, blindfolded. Second, consult with trusted advisors. Do not isolate yourself. The burden of ethical decision-making is heavy, and it is not meant to be borne alone. Seek out the counsel of those whose judgment you trust, those who possess the wisdom and integrity to offer objective perspectives. Engage in robust dialogue and subject your own reasoning to rigorous scrutiny. Remember, 2 heads or more are often better than 1. Third, apply established ethical frameworks. Consider the principles of utilitarianism, the greatest good for the greatest number, or perhaps the deontological imperative, to act in accordance with universal moral laws. Do not merely pay lip service to these frameworks. Apply them rigorously and examine the potential implications of each approach. This is not a game of intellectual posturing. This is about real-world consequences. Fourth, consider the publicity test. Ask yourself, how would this decision appear on the front page of a newspaper? If your answer fills you with dread, then you have your answer. Transparency is a powerful disinfectant. Shine a light on your decision-making process, and you will find that many ethical shadows dissipate. Fifth, document your reasoning. Maintain a record of your deliberations. Document the factors that influenced your decision, the alternatives you considered, and the rationale behind your final choice. This is not merely a matter of bureaucratic compliance, it is a matter of personal accountability. If your reasoning is sound, then you should have no fear of scrutiny. Sixth, practice emotional regulation. Ethical dilemmas are often emotionally charged. Learn to regulate your emotional responses. Do not allow fear, anger, or greed to cloud your judgment. Practice self-discipline. Take a moment to pause, to breathe, to regain your composure. A calm mind is a clear mind. Seventh, implement the right decision method. Recognize, identify, gather, have a plan, take action. This is a very useful tool to utilize when working through these difficult situations. To rely solely on gut instinct, to ignore the counsel of trusted advisors, this is a recipe for disaster. One must seek diverse perspectives, one must engage in rigorous self-reflection, one must be willing to confront one's own blind spots. Transparency, accountability, these are the cornerstones of ethical leadership. To act in secrecy, to shield oneself from scrutiny, this is to invite corruption, to breed distrust, to undermine the very foundations of one's authority. Cultivate your own personal values, define what is important to you, and act accordingly. The journey of ethical development is a lifelong endeavor. It is a continuous process of learning, of reflection, of striving to live in accordance with one's highest principles. Remember, these strategies are not foolproof. They are tools, instruments, guides, but they provide a structured approach to navigating complex ethical situations. They offer a framework for reasoned deliberation, a means of mitigating the inherent risks of ethical decision-making. And so, listeners, I urge you, embrace the burden of ethical responsibility. Cultivate your moral courage and strive to live a life of integrity, a life worthy of emulation.